Okay, welcome to both sides of the mic. Today it's July 9th, and our guest caller sitting in the hot seat today is Mike Seastrom. And hopefully Lisa will make an appearance here because I'm sure she's going to be able to tell us some things about Mike that he doesn't want us to know.
Let me give her a quick heads up, okay?
Yes.
Hey, Lisa.
Or tell her to run.
At some point there will
Yeah,
be.
yeah. Tell her to run the other way.
I
Steve.
just had I just had to let her know. She just got out of the shower, so she's
Okay.
probably not in the shape to come right away, but she'll get
Yeah,
there.
that's okay. Oh, Lordy. So, I'm going to start this thing off with a question to Mike, and it has to do with how he got involved with square dancing together. Uh, Most of you don't know that Mike is a gambling man, right, Mike?
Yep.
Tell us about how you lost the bet and had a square dance.
Well, my family always has bet over the Rose Bowl game because the Rose Bowl game is a big game in Southern California on New Year's Eve. My dad is a big football fan or was a big football fan, and my mother was. So we always bet over the Rose Bowl game. Now it's gotten to where we bet over all the games, and even though my folks are gone, another nephew carries it all on. But the bottom line is that the part of my bet, if I lost, I had to try square dancing 3 times. My folks already square danced. My mother did the exact same thing to my dad to get him to square dance, and he really got into it and loved it. So there was a group that was dancing. It was actually part of a group that was feeding into a group of exhibition dancers back in 1960. And I was 9 around that time, and but had fairly tall for my age. And so I went dancing. The first night I had to dance with my sister, which is not all that great. And yeah. And I I actually tripped, fell down, and got a bloody nose while square dancing. So my first night, I really didn't like square dancing. It wasn't one of those things I was going to return to. But I had 3 nights. So the second night, this 14-year-old girl came up and said, "Hey, I'd like to be your partner." And I went, "Wow, okay." And my sister was dancing with somebody else, and now square dancing took on a new meaning for me, and it continued. I really enjoyed dancing. I enjoyed the interaction with the other kids. I was never good enough to make the exhibition group, but the important thing was I learned to dance. I really enjoyed it, and so that's how I got into dance.
Okay. And from there, how many weeks before you started calling?
It was I was busy with school and stuff like that, but by the time I reached 6th grade, our teacher was teaching. She was actually teaching the Virginia Reel, and she called it a square dance. And I took up an issue with her. I said, "This is not a square dance; it's a contour dance. There's no square here. There's one line contrary to another, and this is an old time contour dance, and the music is really old time, and we don't use that kind of music anymore in square dancing." And she goes, "Okay, smarty pants, well, teach us to square dance." So I borrowed a record from the caller, and who later became the caller on the flip side was Bob Van Antwerp, who later became a mentor to me. And it was an old thing called Limehouse Blues. And anyway, the music was much more updated than the old Virginia Reel stuff they recorded in the 30s, and so the class really enjoyed it, and I just used the flip side of it, and I taught record after record to this class, and as I borrowed them from the caller, and then my caller eventually said, "Why don't you go and buy some records?" And so I went and bought some records, and the teacher said, "Well, why don't you sing it on the other side?" So I practiced them, and I started singing calls, and the caller in our club put me up several times, and who's a regional caller by the name of Bud Brugman, who was also a mentor to Pat Carnathan, another caller in the Southern California area. But anyway, we he got ill and couldn't in 1963 in the summertime. He said, "Would you teach the class?" He said, "Just call me every week. I'll tell you what to teach, and and if you do the class, it would really help me." So I started calling them every week, but of course we're in the area where Sets in Order, American Square Dance Society is. I got that magazine, subscribed to it. started collecting books and stuff on teaching, and just kind of became a student of teaching, and started teaching my first class in 1963.
Wow.
So
So you've been 66, well, 60 years then calling. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. You got a year up on me. Um,
Been a good ride, Joe. It's been fun, and I've seen this activity evolve over the years, and had some great mentors, and so I've been blessed.
well, you were in a really great place for square dance calling talent.
Uh, I was,
You
I
know,
was.
just rich as can be. That's great. Now you've only been married a few years. How did you meet Lisa?
Well, I literally met Lisa, knew Lisa from square dancing, and I've known her mother a lot longer than I've known Lisa. Didn't realize that they were actually connected together for a long time. But the the bottom line is Lisa was engaged to a round dance cuer by the name of Bob Malthouse, and my wife, who passed away about 12 years ago, she loved to dance with Bob. So if I did a dance with Bob and he was cueing the rounds, Lisa would, I mean, my wife Gail would tell me, listen, I'm going to dance with Bob. You can dance with Lisa. So we became friends, and of course, since Bob and Lisa and Gail had passed, and so we got together, and it's been great. We've been married about 4 years now, and I'm a blessed man. It's a good thing.
That's great. How many kids do you have?
I have two boys. Both of them have traveled with me square dancing. They've traveled to New Zealand with me and Japan with me. And um, I even got them both up to call, although they only knew like one song, but we got up and sang together and had a good time with that. So, uh,
Uh, that's super. Um, let's see, where am I at here? Well, we'll move along to this one. Okay, so we were talking earlier on about being an introvert or an extrovert. Which category would you put yourself into?
well, early on, really early on in square dancing, I was more of an introvert. I really had to kind of learn some social skills from other callers and just watching other entertainers and so I would categorize myself. Well, I'm a Gemini, so I'm on one side. I'm a longtime dentist. So, and dentists are generally shy and working in little places. And on the other side, I'm a square dance caller, so I get to kind of live both lives there. So, but I got about 2 more months and I'll be retired after 47 years of being a dentist. So I'm really excited about that.
Wow, that's fantastic. So, do you get nervous before calling or during calling?
Every once I have been, and over the years, I think if you're not a little bit nervous or just have a little bit of an edge going, that you're not at your best. But in general, I'm not. And I love calling with other callers. That's one of the reasons I go to the National every year because we get a chance to gather a group together and get up and sing. One of the best joys I had this year at the National was actually watching other callers on the stage with each other, just enjoying themselves, calling with each other. And this year, especially, there were 4 or 5 callers at each tip at an after party that just got up and sang together. And it was just really, really a joy to see that.
I agree on that. It's fun to see and watch, and it's interesting because as a dancer, no, as a caller, I can tell when they're not in tune, of course, like most people, and all. But as a dancer, I don't notice it. What I notice is the camaraderie of the togetherness, the brotherhood, so to speak, or sisterhood. I
Yeah.
don't want to leave the ladies out on this. Uh, it's a community event, but dancers, it's like dancing with live music. It's just more than one voice, whether they're singing the same tune or harmonizing, you name it. It just it makes it much more exciting, a
It really does.
lot
It
more
really,
fun. Yeah,
yeah. And it's
uh,
fun for us. We call by ourselves all the time. So it's really nice when we get a chance to
yes,
get on the
yeah,
microphone.
it really is. So let's see. So, what at this point, because this is called both sides of the mic, the idea being dancers know us as callers, and I've said this before. Many dancers think that we live in a suitcase, like like little dummies we are, and we only come out for the dance, and then we go back on our little box and until they show up again. So they don't realize that we have families, or we don't have families, or we got cats or dogs, moms and dads. So I call it both sides of the mic, and most of the callers that I've interviewed have been on the other side of the mic. They're introverts. They have to work at getting out and socializing and moving about and talking to people. But we practice that because we know we're leaders. So we know we've got to get out there. And my wife's great for that. She said, all you have to do is ask them a question. If you know they got kids, or if you think they got kids, ask them a question about their kids. They'll love you. They'll remember you. They don't care about your choreography.
You know, you're absolutely right, Joe. People like to talk about themselves. And if you give them the opportunity to ask them a question, not only do you become more enlightened, but you become more connected with them. And so I think it's an easy thing. And that's something that I've learned too, is where are you going for vacation this summer? Or
Yeah.
people will just light up telling you about where they're going for vacation, or, you know, um, things like that. It's just, what are you doing for fun these days? And those kind of things.
Well, yeah, and it's a networking device, and you find out an awful lot about people, and you can broaden your own life. I know I was in Texas a couple of years ago for the winter, and found out one of the guys in one of the A2 groups. He belonged to a band down there in South Texas, and because I've been a musician all my life, I said, well, how's that work? He said, well, come on out. What do you play? I went out. I ended up playing in band. I played in the South Texas Orchestra. A whole nother part of life. You find, some who's interested in photography, who's interested in gardening. Um, Now, I understand you play musical instruments.
I play a little bit of harmonica and a little bit of guitar. And
Ah,
there's Lisa.
hey, there's Lisa. Boy, she looks clean.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
thank you.
She smells good too.
Oh, Lordy, I have to let me turn my smell-o-vision on here.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, uh, glad to see you here, Lisa. Don't be shy, and you can say anything you want to in front of Mike. I know,
Yeah.
I know he's a good guy. He won't, hold it against you for too long.
No, you got it.
Uh, so,
Brian.
unfortunately, you've answered a bunch of our questions already, Mike. So it's time to go. See you.
Good.
uh, Being a dentist, so we know what you did in school, and I don't. My wife was a dental hygienist, and I still don't understand the idea of poking around in someone else's mouth. Oh, gee.
Well, let me tell you a little story. When I was going to college, one of my jobs was with a buddy of mine. I'd come to Los Angeles because I went to school in San Diego. I'd come to Los Angeles, and on my weekends, I would put on a greasy, overalls and go out and lube and change oil and stuff on garbage trucks. And that's what I did in the daytime before I actually called at night. I'd have to go home
Oh
and
my
go.
God.
So I had a buddy of mine. It was a job. We could make some money on a Saturday afternoon and even a little bit on a Sunday. And I remember crawling underneath the garbage truck, and a lady came in to pick up her husband who was driving the garbage truck. And she looked down underneath at me and my buddy, and she said, God, I'm sure glad you don't have that job. And I really realized that we had descended to a level that was probably, lower than the guy that drives the garbage truck. But the
Jeez.
bottom line is that we had to work in these little areas and stuff. And so I always loved that at nighttime I could clean up and go call a dance, and it was a lot nicer. So I I feel like the mouth is a much cleaner place than those garbage trucks, although it might not seem that way.
Yeah, yeah. Now you put thoughts in all of our heads, going from cleaning garbage trucks and things to working in my mouth.
Well,
Uh,
he's not a proctologist.
Yeah,
well,
you're
that's
right.
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah,
Well, there we are. I think their union is the same though.
probably.
Oh, Lordy. Can you tell us anything about yourself, Mike, that you think probably most people don't know?
Hmm. Well, um, most people don't know.
Let me give you a hint.
Okay.
Going, okay? Lisa probably can join in on this one. Um, when you see him on stage and he's calling and he's being his nice Mr. Mike persona,
Mm.
and he's making people happy, da 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 da, and they think he probably is going to go home, have a cup of coffee or whatever, catch the news, and go to bed. And then he's going to get up in the morning. He's going to go to work, and then he's going to go call again, and he's just mm, pretty pretty tame life. Uh, so as hobbies go, and what you like to do in your off time, is that pretty much it? You probably read a book and you know, pretty sedentary life, right?
Well, as most callers that have regular jobs know, there's not a lot of off time. I try to spend it with my family, my kids, my grandkids. I've got six grandkids, actually seven grandkids that are now almost all grown up. So I've really enjoyed my time with them, doing their things, and so now, like I said, I'm kind of looking forward to this time where I don't have 50 hours a week working as a dentist and get more than 5 hours of sleep at night, and have time to read a book. You were talking about reading a book. Mostly stuff I read were journals and articles and went to courses and stuff like that. So it'll be nice to have shift gears a
Mhm.
little bit and have more time. We like to work outside. I work inside all the
Just gonna say
time,
that.
and Lisa has got a great green thumb, and she's out there, feeding every critter that would come into our yard. And
Not
and
not the rat.
no, not the rat. We just caught a rat. Yeah. So anyway, um,
But he's a beast in the yard. He's just cut, 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 and blow, 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 and it's all good.
no,
If it's alive, let's kill it. Is that?
no,
No.
I like to be outside, and because like I say, I work inside all the time, so it is nice to be outside. We like to walk and exercise, ride bikes. I love the beach. I love this ocean here on the Pacific. This is the best coast in the entire world, from San Diego to Vancouver, and
Yes.
the fact that we live right on it is the best. And so we anytime we can spend time down the beach, whether it's riding the bikes or in the waters, body surfing, or just walking on the beach is good stuff for us.
Fantastic. Well, I'm going to jump right into another bunch of questions, though, because you still haven't gotten to the part that I want to hear about. Okay.
Okay.
This is the have you ever section.
Okay.
Okay. Have you ever ridden a motorcycle?
Yes. I maintain my motorcycle license.
You do. Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of motorcycles have you?
So years ago, I drove.
Scooter, didn't you?
Actually, years ago, I drove to school on and off on just a small Yamaha, and then my son, oldest son, got into BMWs.
Oh, yeah.
So I did some riding with him, and after an accident, I did less riding. We were in Bermuda a couple of years ago, and anywhere you go in Bermuda, you drive around on a scooter. So the couple that we went with, he actually grew up in Bermuda, and the first thing we did was rent scooters, and we tooled all over Bermuda on a scooter. That was a great way to get around there. And
Oh,
so,
Yeah,
anyway,
that was fun.
I like it. I don't have a motorcycle, but I maintain my license just in case.
yep. Good for you. That's great. Um, Ever jump out of an airplane?
Yes, yes. My
In what?
step my staff used to give me things as a Christmas present, and one of them was a parachute out of a plane. And of course, both my boys said, "Dad, if you're going, you got to take us." So the three of us went, and we went. It was you get your choice of going through a course and all day course long and jumping by yourself, or you can go with a jump master, and it's about an hour in the course room, and you go up in a plane, you jump, and it's a lot higher. You jump 12,000 feet, you free fall 5,000 feet, you pull the cord. Anyway, both my sons and I did that, and it was awesome. It was, I'd do that again in a heartbeat. I love to bungee jump. Um, I've been bungee jumping several times. If I go to Vegas, I like to jump off the tower there in Vegas. That's just one of the best jumps, and it's a safe. They keep a pretty safe way of doing things. So I feel like that's it's pretty safe to do that.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's like most square dance callers, isn't it? No, no, no. What I think of is, wait a minute, that's part of the dentist psyche, isn't it? You, it's like when you're working in someone's mouth and you see a bad tooth, you go, "I'm just going to yank that out of there." It's a thrill, isn't it?
Yeah.
You see, it's a pleasure danger seeking personality. Uh, ever fly in a hot air balloon?
Yes, hot air balloon. I've done too. Yeah.
Yep. Lisa, were you with him?
Yeah.
Do it. Do it
I
for
will.
an anniversary or something. It's a wonderful way to celebrate.
Yeah.
Scuba dive.
I have not done scuba diving. Snorkeling, lots of
I
snorkeling.
have.
But Lisa is
Have you really?
yeah.
Ah, in a big way or just a temporary?
That's a big Catalina Island and
Yeah,
yeah, local places.
that's okay. You got the experience, Ever work in a factory?
No,
No, yeah. I've never worked in a factory.
Okay. Pulled taffy?
pulled taffy. So
No, I can't say I pulled taffy. I
I've eaten it though.
I'm very cautious around taffy. I have lots of crowns in my mouth, and
Oh,
as a dentist, we call taffy crown removers, and so
oh,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I, I come kind of easy around that. Chocolate's good, but
oh. So you make s'mores? Okay.
there you go.
Uh, have you ever been in the armed forces?
I was only in Air Force ROTC, but in high school, I had a football injury to put a pin in my shoulder, so I was
Rejected, huh?
4-H at that time, and then
Yeah.
numbers by the time the draft came around, my number was really high, so I just stayed in school and so I never really served any time in the military.
Yeah. I think that's a large part of uh, our age brackets. Um, you are a year or two younger than I am, but um, everything we did would put us out of the running. I tried to join in, and they said, "No, you're a father. We don't take fathers this year." So okay,
All right, all right.
you know. So I did my stuff at the local level. I was a teacher. Have you ever ridden a horse?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Um, do you ever wish you were taller or shorter?
I'm happy right where I'm at. I figure you get what you get, and you got to do the best you can with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Only on the volleyball court when I want to hit the ball over the net or block somebody.
Yeah.
Well, that comes up to the other thing about having oh, what is it? A superpower. That's it. Uh, would you like to be invisible or be able to fly without an airplane? Or
Yeah, I'd like to fly. If I had the ability to do anything, it would be to fly.
have you? Do you have dreams where you're flying and
I do.
Well,
yeah,
I've done a couple things like the platforms in the water where there's a force of water underneath you, and you fly up. I just thought that was the coolest thing.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
it wears you out a little bit, but man, that is fun to do. So
Nice picture of you doing that, right?
yeah. My,
That
my
sounds
sons and I have had various adventures together. We didn't give birthday presents. We just gave adventures to each other. So we would do things like that.
that's fantastic. Okay, let's look at the other side of the mic with calling. Let's see. Um, in general, I guess, what do you foresee for square dancing?
Joe, I'm confident that we are focused now on getting new callers, which we dearly need to replace those of us that have been doing this a long time. And I think we have one of the, as I said before, one of the neatest social activities that's physical. It has a real clean interaction with people from all walks of life, from all political views, doesn't matter. We just gather together. So I think we have a wonderful product, and those of us that enjoy the musicality of it, enjoy the singing part of it, or the choreography part of it. I think it has something for everybody, and it's not everybody's cup of tea, I feel, but still, I think it's got great potential in the future. And I think we just need to get on board and make it easier, make that rung of the first the first rung of the tree a little bit easier to reach, and open our doors more often, and the rest of it will take care of itself. But we have a great product. We have the best music we have ever had, and the ability to put that sound out there and give dancers that musical element to dance and move to. I think it's a great product. So I have a lot of hope for square dancing going forward.
Yeah, and I think as we were talking earlier before the start of this session, that Zoom has actually been one of the bonuses from the tragedy of the pandemic. Look at who's on here, from Lisburns and Clark over to BC, Eileen from Australia. You know what time? You know where Eileen is right now? Eileen is in bed in her pajamas. It's 6 in the morning. Yeah.
Dude, what time is it out your way?
Uh, I'm only an hour different than you, I think. What am I? I'm almost 2:30.
Okay. We're at 1:30 our time. So
Yeah. It's time to see the dentist when it's 2:30.
that's right.
Ah,
Yeah. Uh-huh. 2:30. Oh,
2:30.
yeah. I guess we worked that one to death.
So I had a question for Hannah. Hannah, where in Sweden are you?
can you unmute?
Unmute yourself.
Reason why I'm talking about Sweden is that
We are very south,
Where are you?
very south, close to Copenhagen.
Okay.
All right.
We just last year went into Stockholm. I was supposed to call there, and of course the pandemic canceled things. And I was going over there with Wade, and so we decided to go anyway. Last year we went to Stockholm and spent a week in Stockholm. What a wonderful city! What a great time we had, and it's one of my favorite places to call. It was really the dancers over there are great, and and like I say, my father's family is from Katrineholm, outside of Stockholm. So we enjoy our time in Sweden.
It's in the middle of Sweden. We are in Malmö. That's the third biggest town in Sweden.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay. I've been to Malmo and called. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been many years, but always enjoyed going over there. Great dancers and a neat place to go.
And
It's beautiful.
while you're at it, Eva, where are you in relation to all that?
I think about 4 or 5 hours north of Hannah,
Okay.
just with a big lake, Vänern,
Okay.
Oh,
by Göta Canal,
okay.
channel across Sweden.
Oh,
But I'm from Gothenburg originally, so
That's the second biggest town in Sweden.
Yeah.
whoa. Okay. Okay. So let's go back here. What's the favorite? What's the favorite part of square dancing activity that you have, Mike?
Teaching. I love to teach. I also love being involved in square dance music. As I said, I think we have the best square dance music that we've ever had, and with so much variety. And so I love the musical part. I love doing, going to the studio and doing vocals and stuff like that. And and the traveling, it gives us a unique opportunity to travel places. We've got a trip coming up to Japan again this year, and I always enjoy going over there to travel and call. So I think the, the the avenue that it gives us to branch out and choose where we're going is nice. We've got something set up on Australia, so I'm looking forward to going down to Australia. Um, in 24. Duna, we danced with Duna before, so I love that.
Yeah, that's great.
Are you coming to, is that Melbourne? Your
Yeah,
Australian thing?
Melbourne, yeah, with
There's some big birthdays, so I bet I know what you're coming to.
with
Yay.
Mike and Lorraine.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Great people.
Big Zero Club birthday, so
Yeah.
now I know to call it, but I won't tell anybody because we don't know yet.
All right, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, when you're traveling, when you're doing it full time, like I was for, a couple of decades, you'd fly in and you'd fly out. You never really saw. You've been everywhere and seen nothing. Now that we're older, and we maybe have a little more latitude, and we can go to these places and book extra time to be tourist.
Yes,
mhm.
yes,
As callers, when you go into a place, especially a festival or a convention or whatever, and you put up in a fancy high class hotel, you walk around and everybody thinks you're like them, rich and famous. And you're just one of the lowly workers. We're out there doing our little shtick, but then as soon as we're done, we're off the mic and we're on the plane to the next place. You don't really find anything out about where you've been and what you've been doing. So this is the perfect time of life to be doing it. And once you're retired, yeah, and can do those things more on your terms, you're gonna love it even more.
yes.
Um, okay, what's your biggest pet? Do you have a pet peeve about either square dancing or square dancers or the activity? What would it be?
Well, I think my biggest pet peeve is I think there's a lot of callers out there that think they've learned everything they need to learn, and they just call. And I'm a strong believer that our education never stops, and if we can always learn better ways to teach, we can always learn better ways to call, and we can always do more things to have the dancers have a good time. So I think we never stop learning. So that would be the only pet peeve I have is the attitude that exists that I know everything I need to know, or I've got all the music. I've got all this music I bought in the 70s. That's good. No, it's not. No,
No,
not anymore. No.
not no. Well, it never was, Mike. I don't care what profession you're in. And I find as a caller myself, is I don't necessarily always learn from just the best educators out there. I learn from the new dancers. Even this winter down in Florida, it was some of the new dancers that the questions they ask just makes you have to go do some research and say, I don't know what is a full sachet compared to a half sachet. You know, why do they say roll away instead of half sachet? Why? I love it.
I do too.
Yeah. So my pet peeve is the people that have glasses that are half empty.
Mhm.
I've always, I've been Pollyannish, thinking that the best things are here and make the best of what you got. Um,
I agree. Yep.
Alrighty, I was going to ask if you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be? And I think you already said where you are is As good as it gets.
Yeah, I might be in Santa Barbara. That's one of my favorite, which is north of Los Angeles, but
Okay.
one of my favorite places on the coast. If I
Yeah,
could,
we like that.
yeah, like that.
Cool. So let's talk about some embarrassing situations where, when you've been on the mic, that is, or you could have been off the mic. I don't know. Did you ever leave a remote mic on when you went back into the bathroom, or?
No, I didn't. Of course, we've left mics on in the stage and we're talking and overhearing things. I think probably the I was calling at a national convention one time, and this was back when we were using records, and I always carried in my microphone bag a couple of 9/16-inch nuts that if the record would skip or the floor was bouncing or something like that, I'd put one of those 9/16-inch nuts, just slide it on the handle, and it kept that needle down. And I was calling at a national, and the callers before me were having problems because the dancers that were dancing close, it was knocking the needle off the. So I got two of these 9/16-inch nuts, and I put them on there, and dang, if it didn't not only knock the thing off, but it knocked my 9/16-inch nuts off there.
Yeah,
And,
we see where you're going.
I'm chasing and I'm saying, "Hang on, I got to get my nuts." And then of course I'm bent over realizing what I just said in the microphone. What at the national convention chasing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, got to mark that one down for the book.
Well, yeah, I have done that before too. I've been calling one time, and I don't know, I got into this Elvis song or something, and I tore my pants from knee to knee down, in the middle. And of course, the rest of the tip I just called with my legs closed together. And during the break, there was a round dance cue. My wife said, "Here, take your pants off. I'm going to find some safety pins." And of course, she did find some safety pins, but she just kind of like hung my pants out there. I think you'd like these, wouldn't you? I got a call.
Yeah, no pants.
I need some pants. And of course, I still see the gal who she's still dancing, that provided all the safety pins to put my pants back together so I could finish the night. But and we laugh about that. So
Yeah, yeah, it's dangerous. You almost can't think about making mistakes with your voice or anything, because anything you think is going to eventually fall out of your mouth.
yeah,
And I've said this before. I think I said it on my own interview. That element left and you weave the ring, and when you meet mother, give her a swing. Or element left and weave the ring, and when you meet your partner, give her a swing. And I put the two, meet your mother and swing that partner, together, and I said, element left, weave the ring, and when you meet that mother, give her a swing. Many times the dancers just don't hear it because they hear what they are expecting to hear, and then every so often some dancer has really interpreted it, and they start giggling, and then it just gets to a point, and I'm very bad that way. If you start giggling, you get me going. I can't stop. But that's, yeah. So you've got to watch out, and you've got to watch out not to say the nasty rhyming combinations that you shouldn't say. But
yes.
if you think it will happen, not good.
All right.
Has there been anything in your calling career, though, that you didn't expect to have happen?
Didn't expect to have. Well, one of my real cherished memories is as a kid when I was probably 15. I was doing a one night party in a backyard, not too far from where I live, and it was a Kiwanis group, and we were just going along, and they were barbecuing. We were having a good time, and the owner of the house says, "Come on over. I want to have you meet my neighbor." And the neighbor was talking over the fence with him, and he called me over, and his neighbor happened to be Roger Miller.
Oh my God.
And this was just about the time the old Wagon Wheel records, England Swings, King of the Road. I mean, these are Roger Miller songs. And I said to him, I said, we sing your songs in square dancing. And he goes, you do? And I said, yeah. I said, you want to sing with me? Just and I don't know what made that pop out of my mouth, but it did. And he said, well, I don't know the calls, but I certainly know the words. And I was young enough caller where my spare mic was a tape recording mic, to a
Oh
tape.
yeah.
So if you remember real tape recorders. So anyway, I I gave him my mic and I plugged in my tape recorder mic and we sang King of the Road and we sang England Swings, and I taught the group enough that we could do the choreography. And he had that little rap thing that he always went it, beep, 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 bop, bop, beep, beep, beep. He had just that way about him. And then after the second singing call, he looked at me and said, I gotta go. My wife's gonna wonder where the well, man, and out the gate he went. And I just stood there thinking, I just called with Roger Miller. And
Wow.
it was really a highlight that I didn't really realize and even cherish as much as I do now that he's gone, and realize what a talent he was, beyond just the songs that we know him from, as far as writing scores for plays and stuff like that he did. It was just amazing.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. You could put Roger Miller on Wagon Wheel Records. So many of those songs were his. I love them.
Oh,
Uh, well, let's see what else we got here.
hey Joe,
Do you have
before we
any?
go too much further, I have an admission, and it's something that I've never had a chance to talk to you about. But
Oh, great.
my wife for years, my wife, mother of my children, my late wife, was not a fan of yodeling.
Oh,
But I just thought
But I
that,
am.
yeah, I just thought that, I'd still like to learn to yodel. And for years when my kids were growing up, there was times she didn't go to dances. So I thought, I could always just yodel when she wasn't at my dances. But I didn't really know how to approach it, except that I came across a yodeling tape from Joe Ubelach.
oh,
And I bought that tape and I played it in my car and I learned to yodel and from your tape. And
wow.
so I want to thank you for that. And I don't
You was
yodel.
meant to.
I don't yodel all the time because there's lots of yodeling callers out there. That's their thing, and
Yeah.
that's a but
But he's
occasionally,
very good.
I get to yodel, and I have you to thank for that. So
Oh, fantastic. Thank you.
very much.
Uh, the only ones I've got left, I converted to MP3s, and they're not the best quality recordings anymore. But I give them out to people that want them.
I'll tell you, Joe, it's a great
Hannah
exercise.
wants one.
Hannah wants one. It's a great the way you put it together made it simple enough and understandable enough. And maybe this Swedish background I have tunes me into that more. But the bottom line is that it was great and it's fun. Even, I mean, you listen to Garth Brooks and he has a lilt to his voice sometimes. It just adds character. Tommy is a good example of a guy that can put that little lilt in his voice that it adds character, and it's fun to do with certain songs. So my hat's off to you, and anybody could learn from that tape.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I can't yodel anymore. My voice is matured, unfortunately. Maybe you have some instruments in your office that you can do something with my vocal cords, a little deeper than the teeth, but that's okay.
Yeah, it's a little farther than I'm used to going. So
Yeah, it's out of your depth, okay?
yeah.
It's too bad because I loved it. It was
Uh,
fun to do. I remember riding my motorcycle to different tourist towns, and when it's a lot of traffic, you let a yodel rip, and people all look around like, "Where? Why? Why?"
yeah.
And they go back to walking. You do it once more, and it distracts them. They walk out in front of
I,
your motorcycle, you run them over.
I can be walking through a department store, and you'll hear that echo in there enough, and I'll just get out
Yes.
the yodel, and people go.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
At least it embarrasses Lady, walks away.
Well, I think one of the most fun ones was it Davey Akamura? I can't remember who it was from Japan that
Yeah.
bought the Teach tapes, and we were supposed to be doing an hour together at the National Challenge Convention in, I think it was Virginia Beach one year, and he got sick and couldn't come. But we were going to do some yodeling together, and I thought, now how is that going to go over in the Japanese language? Yodo, 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 you know, yodo, wodo day. I don't know. I never got to talk to him about it, but
Great.
that's
Davey's a
that's
great
that's
guy,
good.
great
Well,
guy.
you never know, Mike, where how far your reach is going to be. And the fact with your involvement with Collar Lab, and what has been coming with, and I want you to give us a little talk on that in a minute. Um, but and I think you have the same feeling that every dancer that walks through the door, every caller that you help, has a very fragile ego, and we're in charge of it, and it's our responsibility not to hurt it. Uh, and it's so easy to do inadvertently. But by the same token, I'm sure that somewhere in the world, uh, some dancer will remember very fondly that time that Mike Seastrom did fill in the blank and made them feel really good. And that's the beauty of it. And I think it has to do with attitude. Uh, you know, your
You know,
attitude is positive, and everybody notices.
years years ago at a Colorado convention, one of the first keynote addresses that I remember anybody given was Ed Foote, and he got up on stage to give this talk. And Ed's, he's pretty calm and mild mannered in his delivery. So this is early in the morning. My thought was he's either going to put all of us to sleep, or he's really going to hit home some. And as far as I'm concerned, that speech had so much of an impact on me. And basically, Joe, it was the fact that we are in a position as callers, and he likened it to doctors or whoever that help other people. He said we can, as callers, make people feel good about themselves. And whether it's a simple compliment like, you guys look great tonight, or, of course, Ed's favorite thing is, I love to watch you dance,
It's a pleasure. Yeah, it's a pleasure to watch you dance.
but yeah, but the bottom line was that have a position in we're in that position where we can make dancers feel good about themselves, whether it's successfully going through a tip and having just the great experience of dancing and moving to music, or whether it can be a compliment, or whether we can build a sequence of events together where at the end of the sequence they would have never done that choreography at the beginning, but we brought them through that and we helped them, and they're feeling good about themselves. I think we're in that position. And when there's nothing that makes you feel better about yourself than making other people feel good about themselves. I mean, it took a good example is your kids. If you can make your kids feel good about themselves, boy, it just comes back 100 times. And
Hmm.
I think square dance callers are in that unique position that if we do it right, we not only feel better, but it makes the whole entire crowd feel better.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
Okay, Lisa, being the partner of a famous entertainer. Okay,
A big rock star. Uh-huh.
yeah.
I always feel it's embarrassing sort of a thing. I walked into dance with Joe Sawtell one time down in Texas. He's, and I don't know how he recognized me because I don't look anything like what I used to look like. But he says, "Hey, there's Joe Ubelacker, the living legend." And it's embarrassing because you don't think of yourself that way. You think of yourself, I'm just Joe. I'm the father of blah blah blah, and my wife is so and so. Um, so Lisa, you know, you do have to come to terms with the idea that he is famous, he is well known, he's well spoken. His attitude and the way he comes across the mic makes people feel good, and it's karma. What you give out, it's going to come back. Now, how does it affect you when he's getting all the attention and you're really the one that made him?
I didn't.
Actually, if I ever go to a dance without Lisa, it's kind of like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's nice. She steals some thunder, and we get a chance to sing. Lisa is the queen of karaoke, so occasionally we get a chance to sing together, and
That's
and
great.
so that's fun too.
yeah,
That's fun too.
I'm just the support staff, you know.
Just the
It's good.
support staff.
Listen,
Lisa's the only reason I'm here.
I that's what I knew that, Brian.
This is the thing Brian said. Brian comes on. I asked him to test his mic. He says, "Yeah, where's Lisa?"
Listen,
I would have been
they-
here sooner had I known you were there, Brian. Gosh.
they've always had a thing, and I should have brought the computer into the shower, but
Yeah.
Brian would have liked that. Yeah.
that was a request.
You do own a shotgun, don't you, Mike?
no
Keep
gun.
keep these guys away.
No gun.
Well, sometimes it's tough for our partners to sort of be second seat, but they are so important. This is part of the caller coach mentoring that we need to give out to the newbie callers. If you've got a partner, you've got either they want to be part of your situation or not, or they're introverted or whatever. But I we were talking on Zoom sometime this week and talking about the spouse session and the idea that I remember as a dancer, and this one couple that I danced to, the wife was always there. She collected the money at the door, and she made sure everything was hunky dory. And you had any questions, you talk to her. And one night she didn't show up, and that night really was half empty. It really was just half empty without her being there. So we can get as big a head as we want. It's only so big because once you're associated with your partner, that's how you're perceived, and it's very important.
Very fortunate that I have a good partner who he supports me as much as I support him, and he
Yeah, that's
makes
good.
a point to make me feel appreciated. So
That's good. That's
I
good.
never have a problem being his partner.
Well,
Those are-
Lisa, that's young love.
Yeah, it's we are blessed with that, and but I think those of us that are lucky enough to have a partner, and you can work together, it makes such a big difference. And like I say, my partner's a lot better looking than me, so it's really
Well, yeah. I rely on my wife to be the trophy. Yes, the good-looking part of it. That's for sure. She's very outgoing and makes everybody feel really good. I can call for a group for a dozen years and not know the names of everybody. She'll know after one night. She knows them, their kids, their pets, you name it.
It's,
Wow.
yeah. It's incredible. So the other thing is that those that don't have a caller, and I went through a time, or have a partner, and
Yeah.
I went through a time when you start to learn that there's other dancers that are in your ballpark, and whether they're the clubs you call for regularly, the people you teach for, those people become, in a sense, your team.
That's right. Yeah.
And I think if we can utilize those dancers, even if we do have a partner, utilize those club leaders, those dance leaders that stand out as people that work on our team and interact with them. It's fun to tease each over the microphone or whatever. It makes a big difference too.
Yeah, and I think that depends on how you are as a person yourself, as to how well they your fan club supports you. Yeah, when Todd was on a couple of weeks ago, as in the hot seat, and one of the couples that came on, they came on early, especially to make sure I asked certain questions of Todd. just to kind of get some chuckles and all, So like he has a great a following, people that like him. But why? It's not because he's alone, not alone, but because he's not got a partner supporting him right now. It's because he's Todd, and he, they love him for it. Uh, Brian, of course, he'll never get another, you know, uh, partner. He's gonna just have that cat. He showed us the cat.
My best form of birth control is me talking to women.
See, Mike, this is the good thing. We get a lot of good ammunition for later on when people give us these questions. We have that. I got to write that one down.
Yeah.
Daryl Clendenin had one about being bald. He said his hormones have much better things to do than to grow hair. So,
Okay.
I like that. I
That's a
haven't heard
good.
that one.
That's a good one.
Michael Braithwaite had one for the square in the corner that's breaking down. And he says he lowers the music and he looks over and he says, "Don't pay any attention to that square there. They're working on new material for me."
I like that.
Yeah. So
We like
yeah.
that square out there.
So it's wonderful stuff. So let's go through just a couple of quickies here.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite movie or a favorite genre of movies?
You know, I got to admit, I'm not a big person for horror flicks. I like action movies, but I tend to go to the movies with my wife, and so whatever she's watching is good for me. And it turns out they're chick flicks. And one of my favorite movies is Return to Me, and it's an old movie that who was it? Minnie Driver.
Minnie Driver.
And
yeah. And I think I can't remember.
Anyway, those are my favorite.
Really
I know,
stuff.
yeah. So
we don't get a chance to go to the movies much these days, but I plan to be able to do more of that. So
okay, so let's be honest here. On these chick flicks, when you watch them and there's a very moving part, do you tear up?
yeah. yeah. I admit it.
Yeah. My glasses always get blurry.
Yeah.
He tears up watching Ted Lasso.
That's a show that we've really enjoyed is Ted Lasso. And we're not into like watching a lot of television either, but that show captivated us. We had a good time with that one.
Oh, I don't know that one. Have to check that one out.
On Apple TV.
Yeah.
Oh, Apple TV. Oh my goodness. Favorite food?
Favorite foods. Yeah, I do like sushi. I do like Mexican food. But yeah, we have some great sushi places here in LA, and we love to go to Japan and have sushi and sashimi in Japan. So,
Oh my gosh. You're the one.
and it's nice that Lisa will say, "Hey, let's go for oysters," and we'll go out to the oyster bar and
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
You like those fish markets in Japan where they're half alive, half dead, and they're wiggling around, and their eyeballs are looking at you. And
Tell the taco story.
well, yeah.
Oh, got to hear the
Well-
taco story. This is hilarious.
We were in Japan for a couple of weeks, and my wife had said to me, my late wife said, "I would kill for a taco," and
Jeez.
and somebody heard her, and of course immediately presented her with a big smile on their face with a squid on a stick.
Okay.
And the squid was moving around a little bit, and I guess that's a taco in Japan. And so here she's walking around with this stick, wondering what am I going to do with this? And of course, Mikey will eat anything, so I ate it and shared it, and
Oh, yeah.
Yum.
So don't ask for it. You gotta be careful what you ask for. You can
In
you can
Japan, you
you can get it.
Okay. Sounds good to me. Uh, well, is there anything that you'd like to tell us about that we haven't covered yet?
Um, so you had one of the things I noticed in one of your other interviews is you had two truths and a lie.
Yes.
Okay. So I thought I gotta write something down for that, And my here's my
Okay.
three things. Okay. And one of them I've already given away. So that really makes it easy. I called with Roger Miller. Okay. I love a good scotch. And I called in the ballroom where they give away the Nobel Peace Prize in Sweden. Those are my three.
I know which one it is.
Okay. Let's do. Okay. So the first one is called with Roger Miller. How many believe that's true? Raise your hand.
I admitted that.
Yeah. Okay. How many believe that he loves a good scotch?
You didn't get any. You didn't get any. Oh,
Not
wait.
many. So we think that that's the lie. That you did call in the ballroom where the Nobel Peace Prize was given. Yep.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And but
So,
scotch, no.
No.
I'm a tequila drinker, so
yeah.
Oh, are you really?
I love a good tequila. So
You sure you're Swedish?
and so does my wife. She's
Oh.
she likes a good
So that's
Yeah,
how you really met.
Yeah,
In a
we
te-
did.
in a
We
te-
did
in a
kind of.
tequila bar.
Yeah,
Uh,
over tequila.
well, it's fantastic having you on, Mike and Lisa. And Mike, I will be using some of your information on marketing, sociability, and whatnot for our leadership training in September.
Super.
I'll just have to. I'll go on Caller Labs knowledge base there. And
Type in social connections, and
Okay.
Barry Clasper, Dottie Welch, and Chris Jensen have done an amazing job with the knowledge base, and
Isn't it great? Yeah.
it is such an amazing resource. We have more things that the Social Connections Committee is putting on there, but we wanted to make a resource where any caller can go on there and just catch things on how to make their group better, have their club better, a festival, more fun things they can do, that theme things, and just different stuff that gives us the ability to make our connections with our dancers better, and also do something to provide a vehicle for our dancers to interact with each other in a more enjoyable way.
Yep. Absolutely. Okay, so next week we're going to be talking with Clark Baker, I hope. Clark is very, I'll say he's almost comes across introverted, so he doesn't say much, but when he says something, it's worth listening to. Always has an interesting, unique way of looking at things. Again, one sentence and you're learning a lot. It's really great. So, is part of why I like this Zoom thing. There are other callers doing podcasts and whatnot. Marty, is it Van Wart?
Marty,
Oh, darn. I always mess up names. Even when I was a teacher, I was bad at that. Um, so Marty does podcast. Charlie Vieira does podcast. Buddy Weaver will have different things.
Marty Northrup.
That's it, Marty Northrup. Yeah, he might have been one of maybe the first that was doing it. I wasn't even aware of a lot of this stuff at first, but with Zoom, I thought, here's a great opportunity to get together and meet and chat, and for some of us it can be a lonely life without Zoom, because we don't get out the way we used to. So we get to reconnect with many people that we haven't seen in years. Um, Also to get the ideas from other people around the world, really. So
It gives us a great chance to connect too. I haven't seen Bill in years. Sometimes we'll post messages back and forth, but we haven't seen each other in years. And Todd, it's been a long, long time since we've seen each other. And and Duna, always love to see you. And of course Brian is a real hoot. And I, it's a fun way to connect. You know, during the pandemic, we had a brand new class that we were afraid of losing, and so we really quick learned through a couple mentors, Mike Dussault and a couple other people, how to use Zoom. And we every Tuesday night, Lisa and I would get on, and we teach two couple dancing, and it got to where we had kind of had to start over with the two couples dancing with everybody to get used to phantoms and such. But we found that during those sessions, the most important thing that we could do was to connect with everybody and get a chance to talk with everybody and know everybody. It started out one night where one of the gals dancing with us was dancing in her kitchen, and she had all these refrigerator magnets. And I said, Martha, grab one of your magnets and tell us a story. Well, she pulled out a magnet and she had this big story about this travel, the place she traveled to. And it was just amazing. All of a sudden, everybody got a neat chance to know her. So the next week, we said, everybody bring a refrigerator magnet. So we did that. And everybody on the screen, we made sure between dances that they told us about the refrigerator magnet. And one night it was a National Pizza Day in the United States. So we said, well, next week is National Pizza Day. Everybody order a pizza. Well, during the session, people's doorbells were ringing and pizza was being delivered, and I learned more about pizza that night. And everybody had the best place to buy pizza or the best place to get pizza: Chicago, New York, and we kept going with that, with themes, bolos, just things, and it was so fun to connect with these people. And since that time, we've seen them out at dances, and we'll just yuck and laugh about the sessions we had on Zoom. So I just appreciate being here and seeing seeing folks that we just saw Hannah and you guys in Mobile, and so it was great. It's good chance to see people.
yeah, yeah, it's been good. In fact, what is it? What is today? Sunday. Okay. Tuesday night, I'm calling in Seattle. I'm not going to go to Seattle, but I'm calling in Seattle because of Zoom. Yeah.
Nice.
You get these dates where some clubs are still dancing full squares, but they do Zoom calling. One of them in Florida does one caller's live and one caller's Zoom. So it's just been a great way to go. So anyhow, I want to thank again Mike and Lisa both for contributing to both sides of the mic.
Thanks, Joe, for having us. We enjoyed being here.
Thank you. Does anybody have any question for Mike or Lisa?
I don't have a question, although I do have a statement of thanks for Mike. Something he probably isn't aware ever happened, but I'm going to let him know what happened. So back in Louisville, Sparky was the one who programmed the Advanced and Challenge dancers, or the callers, and Sparky had no idea who I was. So he had given me one A1 session and one C1 session, and that's it. And all of the Advanced and Challenge dancers were trying to figure out where they could dance to me, and they couldn't because I only had a couple spots. And so I had one spot in the C1 hall, and I had told Sparky that I was good friends with a good friend of his who was Dave Wilson, and he had no idea. And so he had looked at my computer, because I use SQMP3, and I was using it on a Microsoft Surface, and he wanted to see what it looked like on a Microsoft Surface. So he took a look, and he complained that I didn't have any written material on my computer. And I said, well, why would I need written material? You only gave me a 20-minute spot in the C1 hall. I'm just going to site call it. And so he decided to see what kind of arrogant caller was going to call, site call C1 at his convention. And so he came in and he sort of stood by the stage while I was calling the C1. Magical part was I looked out on the floor, and the square I was sight calling on, it was Mike's square. Mike was out on the floor dancing. I had a choice between you or Shooping, and I said, no, not going to sight call on Shooping. So I was sight calling on Mike's square, and I was doing some pretty crazy stuff as I normally do. And the whole floor was having a great time. And then at the end of it, you came up to the stage and you thanked me for calling some really wild, fun material, of which Sparky got to witness that. And then Sparky decided to give me 3 more spots for the rest of the weekend.
All right.
Because he figured, oh well, I guess the guy can call. So it was kind of a fun situation, because not only did I sight call and do well enough for him to think that I did well, you came up and justified it for him.
Oh,
So it worked out pretty well in my case.
All right.
that's good. All right.
I think we
All-
understand each other. You got it.
That's great. Well, thanks, folks. And we'll see you again next week. Same spot, same station,
Bye, Lisa.
same time. I'll keep this on for anybody who wants to kind of chat afterwards, but I'm going to turn my recording off. Okay.